You practice at Kentucky Elder Law.
I do.
And if I remember correctly, you started there about the time that I started in long-term care,
I think so.
which was 2013. So
Yeah.
we met years ago
We did.
when I was a hospital liaison for a local skilled nursing facility,
Right.
and you had transitioned into elder law.
Did. It was the summer of 2013. Yeah.
Awesome. So
Mhm.
what made you decide to go from where you were before to practicing elder law and estate planning?
It is, I tell you, as you know, I have twin daughters, 27 now. At that time, they would have been 14, I think. Um, and I did defense work and civil defense work. And not that it's a bad thing, but it didn't make me feel good necessarily because people might have been harmed or injured or something. And we're trying to get money from an insurance company or a product manufacturer. And um, over time, it didn't fit where I was as a person. And I just thought elder law would be a great fit, and it has been. Really enjoyed it. Feel good about what we do as a firm, what I do as a person. So yeah.
And what's the difference for people who might not understand estate planning and then elder law? You guys do
Yeah.
both.
So we do what you would call some estate planning. I mean, wills and powers of attorney and living will directives and things like that. But one thing we're not is tax planners. So for people that have 12, 13, 14, 15 million dollars, they probably don't come to see us for their estate planning documents because they may want a person who engages in tax planning to help their estate avoid the potential for any estate tax. So that's what we don't do. We don't do the tax planning, but I do wills for the vast majority of our listeners would fall within the scope of what our services would cover. Um, a vital document that you know about as number one in your previous job, but now especially as a realtor, is that durable power of attorney. People think they're all the same. They are not. We have so many people that they get in a problem trying to sell their home because the power of
They
attorney
don't have
might
right
not
to sign it.
doesn't have the agent named in the document won't have the authority to sell property.
Right. Yeah.
And so our document we worked on it for, well, the firm's been in business for 23 or 4 years. We've been adapting that power of attorney document for what is needed over the course of time.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's so important for those documents to be updated regularly because things change, family dynamics change, people pass away, there's all kinds of things. So that's something that they need to look at on a continual basis. It's not a one and done document that
You're right. So often, if you have a married couple, wife will name husband, husband will name wife, and that's great at certain parts of our life. But later in life, if one of them is not as healthy, you might not want to name that person as your power of attorney. You may want to name your son, daughter, nephew, niece. So it is that we tell people it's a good idea to look at these documents at least every couple of years.
Yeah.
Has something in the family dynamic changed? Did someone pass away? Sad situation. We are big proponents of having someone be on there, a primary, but also put a backup.
Yeah.
But I did have recently a sad situation where a lady had named one son and then another son, and she came back to me. Both of them had passed away, both her boys. So she had to name someone else as her agent. But at least she was able to do that.
Right. I think, and one thing too, I want to talk about with powers of attorneys, I see a lot with kids that are helping support their parents or grandparents. I had somebody say this to me a couple of weeks ago. Once someone is past that cognitive level, they seem to think that they're still going to be able to obtain that document, and that might not be the case. So that is something that we need to pre-plan for, not go get a power of attorney once crisis happens.
Well, this one will ring true for you. I know you can't buy fire insurance when your house is on fire.
Right.
So you want to get a power of attorney when mom or your aunt or your uncle or grandparent has the cognitive ability to sign. Because once they don't know who they are or might not know you, oftentimes people will they won't recognize their family members.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, that's heartbreaking.
yeah.
So as we move into the holiday season, we're spending a lot more time with family. And I've always seen, in the senior world and supporting these families after the new year, things start to get busy because we're spending more time with family and some concerns might pop up. So what are things that you would recommend that families look for, pay attention to during this holiday season?
It's a great question because it is important. A lot of our families might have kids in Indianapolis or kids in Nashville or Atlanta or what have you, and they come home to see mom or dad, and they think, gosh, things aren't as I remembered them the last visit. The house might be dirty or clothes might be dirty. So it's looking for cleanliness, looking for what has been the norm over the course of time. If mom was meticulous all during childhood and as you were an adult as a child, but you show up and mail is scattered everywhere, and you might think, gosh, we really need to consider looking at a consult with an elder law attorney and perhaps looking at a senior living community.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. And these are very tough conversations to have. And, we don't want to ruin anybody's Christmas dinner.
True.
But what are ways that you recommend that people can approach these types of topics with family that are, not pushy, but just coming out of curiosity and coming out of care to really start edging towards that?
That's a good question, and I'll tell you, the answer is as varied as every human being on the face of the earth. So, I just had a consult this morning with a son, mid to late 50s son. Mom's 82 and is a hoarder, but is reluctant to leave her home. And he is still her child. So part of the problem is the bearer of the information. And of course, you have known our firm for many years, and one of the things that we do and the way we practice elder law is called life care planning. And so we have 4 professionals, a social worker, 2 occupational therapists, and a family therapist who assess our clients and then help them get their care needs met, whether it's in home care or whether it's time to move to one of, thankfully, Louisville has plenty of senior living communities to choose from. And of course, you know that well also, being a senior real estate specialist and also in other things that you do as a professional. But it is a difficult thing as a child, even as a 60-year-old adult son, to bring up to mom or dad, because they will hear it differently from a child as they will from a professional.
Right. I had this conversation not long ago with a son with his parents, and I kind of asked them to think about it like when he was a kid and he was, 18, 19, and he was going out and driving or doing what 18, 19-year-olds do. And I said, were you worried about him? He's an adult. He can make his own decisions, but did you worry? And they're like, well, yeah, absolutely. I'm like, okay, well, now we're worried about you. So think about how you felt with the child who had the right to make their own decisions as an adult, but it doesn't mean that you don't care
Worry about
and that you don't still worry about them. So that's always something we got to turn it on its head there and look at that perspective.
Yeah.
So when we move into January and the first of the year, what types of calls do you get most, and how can people be proactive?
That's a really good point. Yes. So kind of from the Thanksgiving holiday through the Christmas time and New Year's holidays, people will tend to notice that maybe things aren't exactly like they remembered them being or wish they were, and so calling to get that initial consult. As you know, we don't charge for that because we don't know what they may need until we sit down with them, with the family. So we set up the free consultation, go over what do you have in place? Do you have a power of attorney? Is it 20 years old, and does it still name somebody who is deceased? Was it thorough enough? I still see some that are a page and a half long, and they become very difficult to use. And so, do we need to get that addressed? If mom and dad are both alive, do they still have wills that name each other as beneficiary, which can be a devastating financial outcome in certain situations? So it is, and oftentimes that first meeting, that initial consult, may be with an adult child. Sometimes it's with the parent, sometimes it's not. It in part depends on what is the issue that we're trying to address. Is it a reluctant person in the home who really needs care, is not safe at home?
Sure.
Oftentimes that person won't come to that initial consult because we're trying to figure out how can we help them and move forward in a safe way.
Right. I see a lot of those where the parents are very resistant, and usually when I go and sit down with them, typically at the home,
Sure.
they view me as the evil lady that's trying to kick them out of their house. But I mean, everybody's goal is to get them in a safer environment where they really are going to thrive, no matter what that looks like. It could be a smaller home, it could be a patio home, it could be a retirement community. But I think everyone has, their best interest at hand.
Well, that is a great point. Maybe a different home. We have lots and lots of people, and I can speak from family experience on this, who stay in the home that maybe the kids grew up in. Laundry's in the basement, and the bedrooms are upstairs. It is a recipe for a fall. And if they transition to patio home, condos, something like that, all one level, they have a statistical likelihood of living a lot longer independently.
Yes.
It's the people who are so adamant, I'm going to stay in the house that my husband and I built together in 1966. That can present a real problem.
Yeah.
So, I mean that looking at single floor living, patio homes, condos, things like that, as opposed to a 4-bedroom house that has 5 acres.
Yes, or stairs to enter.
Yeah. Yes.
So what would be some of the biggest mistakes? I know one that I see a lot is, adding your kid to the deed or things like that. But what are some things that you see in practicing estate planning that tell people to kind of avoid or maybe seek some professional advice before we do this?
2 big ones, and you just hit on one. And the other's kind of related to it. Adding your kids to your deed. Oh, I heard, I need to add my kids to my deed. Oftentimes a bad idea for you and for them, because the governmental benefit programs have a 5-year look back on things like that. And then sometimes it's an issue related to taxes on the children. So you don't want to give appreciated property necessarily to your kids without doing it the right way. The other thing is people heard, I can't have any money in my name and get Medicaid to pay for my care. So we have it, and we'll continue to have it. We try to educate the public on it. Don't give your money away and then expect the government to pay for your care.
Right.
There's a 5-year look back on that unless you meet some very, very, very limited exceptions to that rule. So it is something that we see frequently. I can fix a lot of it if mom and dad gave daughter Susie $50,000 and Susie held on to it. I can fix it.
We can fix it.
But if mom and dad gave $50,000 to Susie and then she bought herself a new car,
Yeah.
I'm in a spot, and they are in a spot. So yeah, those are the big ones.
Those are the big ones, most of the deed. And what about, so you talked about putting their name on the house and how, I mean, I know when for Medicaid, if they do it within 5 years, but having them on there, just when they try to apply for Medicaid, how does that affect that resource?
So if you assume they added a child over 5 years ago, if it's a married couple, we're probably okay. If they added a child to the deed and it's only a single person, we're still going to have an issue, and we can work to protect a big part of that house or piece of property. Something you said earlier, I think, is a fantastic point about planning ahead. Planning ahead, have a plan.
Yeah.
What we love to do for people is be able to do it, what we call an asset protection trust, to just protect the house, period.
Right.
And if we get 5 years from the time we did it, they can't come after the house. It'll be safe. It'll be protected. It's a lot of what we do in proactive planning.
Yeah. Well, cool. Well, I think that's all the questions I have for today.
Great.
But is there anything you want to share, tidbits for the holidays, or anything you want people to know?
I mean, it really is. You've asked some great questions, and the thing that we need to be mindful of is use our senses, our eyes, our ears. One of the things that I've heard people say in addressing seniors is they seem to not be able to find words that they always were able to find. So use your ears, use your eyes, use your nose. Do you smell something burning when you came into the house? So, that is still a concern for many of our seniors, is they're cooking when they shouldn't be.
Or food, or not having food, or not getting regular meals, because that becomes a task at some point.
It does.
And so instead of having to go through that process, they just don't do it.
Don't do it.
And the biggest thing that I see, I don't think people recognize enough, is just that social isolation.
Yeah.
And I think we need to pay a lot of attention to that.
Yes.
Especially now, especially after COVID, and seeing where our loved ones really are.
Yeah.
Many times when we move people into a community, they always tell me, well, mom never did this, or she wasn't social, or dad didn't play cards, and then they've lived there for 30 days and they are doing all of the activities.
I know it. Yes. Well, a word that you used earlier in our discussion was thrive. We see that. I know you see it in what you do, and we see it in what we do. Perhaps spouses passed, living at home alone, didn't think they were social. Your kids don't think mom or dad are social, but when they get into a community, they do. They thrive. They engage. One of the cutest things, and I'm sure a number of memory care units do this, but take the swim noodle and they bat balloons around. And it's so it is. And to see the smiles on people's faces when they're engaging that way.
Yeah.
So if you do have a loved one and you're like, I just don't know what to do. I mean, you can obviously reach out to Amanda or reach out to my firm, Kentucky Elder Law. I mean, there's so many options in this area in particular, in the Louisville and Southern Indiana markets, that there are lots of care options.
Lots of options. Yeah. And people always say, I think after the fact, they tell me they wish they'd done it sooner.
Yep.
That's the number one thing that I hear. So, we're always here and happy to help people plan and move forward into that next step. And thank you so much for coming on here with me today. It's very valuable information, and hope you have a wonderful 2026.
Thank you so much. You as well.